Well, hey guys and girls, it's your good buddy Jody Sharp from Super Flies for Super Guys, and today I'm going to teach you guys the popper changer. Now, this is the popper changer. It is a fantastic fly for all kinds of panfish, rock bass, sunfish, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass. I've caught chubs on it, black crappie. You name it, I've caught on it. It's an all around good fly. Uh, it's not super big. It's about the size of a medium sized Rapella. Um, Super wiggly. It's got that game changer body on it, and it's got a foam tail and a foam head, which makes it super floaty. So comes in a variety of colors. You can tie it pink and black. You can tie it orange and black. You can tie it pretty much any colors you want. You can do the light orange or the more pumpkin orange. Pretty much any color you can think of, you can tie it. The colors are irrelevant. Blah. The colors are irrelevant. One thing you are going to need is a pair of looping pliers. These are looping pliers. I am going to put a picture up there for you. Those are looping pliers. You can get them in if you look online, you can get them in a lot of places. Temu, AliExpress. You can go to the store, go to your local craft store, and usually pick them up. They range anywhere from $1.79 to $4 to $20. Depends on where you get them and how desperate you are to get them. So if you're not too desperate, order them online. You'll get them cheaper. They'll come right to your door. If you're super desperate, pay the money. They're worth having. And I got mine on Temu. And they were around $2. So that's a looping plier. That's these here. That's what they're for. So let's take this fly out of the vise. We will put her off to the side. I'm going to tie that fly, but I'm going to use a bit of fluorescent yellow instead of the school bus yellow. So it'll be pretty much the same, just a lighter color. So what you're going to need is a size 12 straight hook. And you're going to put that in your vise, like so. You're going to take your pliers, gently apply pressure to the eye so you straighten it out. If it's already straight, you don't have to do that, obviously. I like to have the eye straight. If it snaps off, don't worry about it, because we're going to use some Christmas hook hangers to make our attaching points and to make our loops. So for this one, you're also going to need a pair of wire cutters, which I have, and of course our loop maker from wherever you buy it from. So you want to make a piece. What you're going to do, you're going to take it, you're going to put it in the round edge, and you see there's the groove. That's what actually makes the loop. So you put it in, and you push it, and then you just pinch it with your fingers, and you push it, roll it side to side, and you get a loop. All right. And if you're making the attachment loop, you, at the end of the length that you wish to make it, you put your pliers in like that, and you make another loop like so. All right, roll it back and forth, and then it'll make the loops attached in the opposite end. Then you cut it off, and you have your loop. All right, and when you attach from one loop to another, you just slide it in pull it up, and that'll attach your spines. So you can make it as many spines as you want. For this particular fly, we'll only need 2 spines and 2 attachment shanks onto the shanks of the hook. And I'm going to just take that one off because for today I am going to be using these, which I pre-bought. These are 15 millimeter shanks, and I got these off of Temu for I think $2, and I got 50 pieces, and they're pretty secure. I mean, they're a bit heavy duty. I actually generally don't like them to be this heavy, which is why I get the coat hanger, or the ornament hanger, because it's a little bit thinner. The wire doesn't rust. I've never had any rust, and they're a little lighter on the fly, and they fish a little better in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. So anyways, measure your hook and trim off your loop to be the size of the hook, and you want it just so that it'll stick out a little past the original eye of the hook. I don't like to use the eye of the hook because it's very small. The loop is very small, and yes, the wire will fit in there, but it does not wiggle around. It doesn't give the fly the same amount of wiggle as it does as the width of my pliers. So that's why. So I mean, it'll go in, as you can see here. It will go in there, but it just doesn't give it the same wiggle, and you want that tail to wiggle. Okay, so now that we've put our thread on, and we go from the eye back, go a few times, you want to put down a fairly substantial base. Now we're going to place it on just where the eye of the loop is, just in front of the eye of the hook. Now the reason I left that eye of the hook on and didn't cut it off was because it actually helps to stop this from sliding, and it actually secures it better onto the hook. But as you can see, it's substantially a bigger loop, which will give that fly more wiggle. And when you tie your materials in, it'll give you more of an area to so that you don't crowd the eye when you're adding the materials. All right, and you want to layer this up pretty good, because you don't want this thing to go anywhere, which it won't. I've never had a hook pop out, and I've caught some pretty tough fish. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take our Crazy Glue, and if you have your cutting pliers and your Crazy Glue is sealed up, which pretty much it will after 5-10 minutes, no matter how many flies you're tying, you can just use it to peel off the top, the crusty layer, and then you can add your Crazy Glue on there. All right, wipe it off. It'll sort of prevent that crusty layer, but not super effectively. So once you decide what your color scheme is, so for me, I said I'm going to do the red and the high fluorescent yellow. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a dubbin noodle, and how you do that is you just take your wool dubbin or whatever synthetic dubbin you have. This is wool dubbin that I made in the blender, and you just twist it with your fingers and you wrap it on, and then you can wrap it on. And I always like to make my dubbing noodles short, and you can always add materials, but it's really hard to take them off after you added them. You can, but it's not as graceful. All right. So we'll just cover that like that. All right. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is, because we're doing red, we want to make a red foam tail. So you're going to cut a strip of red 1mm foam. Then you're going to take your rounded scissors. I got these ones. And I'm going to cut my foam around. And these are Dr. Schlicks. So if you got a pair of Dr. Schlicks, that's helpful. You don't have to have those. You can use any scissors to cut your foam round. But if you have rounded scissors, it just helps. So now what we're going to do is we're going to measure our foam so that our foam sticks just maybe 2mm, 3mm off the end. And you are going to cut it just before where the eye of your shank is, like so. And then we're going to take it and we're going to tie it down. Now, at the eye, you want to tie it pretty tight, but remember, not tight enough to cut through your foam. Just tight enough to secure it on the hook. And you want to tie 2 or 3mm up from the eye of the hook. All right, but you don't want to tie all the way back. You want it to have like a little paddle shape like this. All right, and it's going to be curved with your wool dubbing underneath. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some Crystal Flash, and we're going to take one strip, fold it in half, cut it. You're going to take all the ends, put them together like this, and cut it again. Okay, now you'll have 4 strands of Crystal Flash, and what you want to do is you want to lay them over the foam and then tie them down. But you don't want to go really past that foam. You want them to be about the length of the foam. And then you're going to take your Crystal Flash that's, oops, clearly I didn't tie that in strong enough. If that should happen, just line it up again, place it on top, line up again, and then I'll add a little more strength. So anyways, back to where we were. So the part that's sticking out past the front, you want to fold it over, and you want to secure it to the end, and then trim it flush with the other stuff. All right, and I think 8 strands. That makes about 8 strands, so that usually does a really good job. Okay, so to start blending it, because we're doing the red now. Oh, that's my wife. She's calling. That's her whistle. So the tail is red. So the very next color we want to do to blend everything in is that nice yellow. And you're just going to make a dubbing noodle. In this case, a couple of dubbing noodles. And you're just going to cover it all up and get that all covered in. If you have any sticking over like if you have any of the foam sticking out, you want to cover that up, and you can just blend it in, and you can cover it. All right, now you're going to take a clump of wool dubbing, and you're just going to lay it on top, and right in the middle between the foam and the eye is where you're going to tie it down. And then you're going to take your fingers and you're going to pull out any that sticks out, and you're just going to fold it up in your fingers again and add that on as well and tie that in the middle. And then you can take your fingers, spread it out a little bit, and we're going to take our dubbing brush, which in my case is just a piece of Velcro on a popsicle stick, and we're just going to comb it out. If you drop your dubbing brush, then just pick it up. It always works out rougher when you're video taping, because you're always a little bit, I think you get a little bit anxious or anxiety when you're filming because you want it to be right, because you tie these things all the time and you want to show people how to make it, and you're hoping you don't miss any steps. Alright, so now that you got that combed out, you just push it back with your fingers, and we're going to do 5 or 6 finger half hitches. If you've got a whip finisher, feel free to use it. I have 5 whip finishers. I feel they slow me down. Some guys swear by them. Some guys are super happy to use them. I do have a video showing people how to use one. If you don't know how to use one, feel free to check out my video on whip finishers. Okay, so that's all secure. So that's the tail piece. So now we're going to take our attachment, and if you've made a spine, which I showed you how to make one, all right, so you can attach your spine there now, or if you have like if you bought some spines, this is where you would attach your next spine. All right, so it slides in, and then there'll be a gap, and then there'll be a hole. Now you take your spine and you clip it into your vise. You attach your thread. In this case, you'll notice in 90% of my flies I use this clear nylon thread. I really like it. It's really durable, it's really strong, and it blends in the materials really nice. So no matter what color material you're using, you don't really see it because it blends in with it, because it's literally clear. So we just cut off our tag in there, and we'll just do a few more wraps, just for good measure. You can put a dab of crazy glue. On these spine parts, it isn't going to matter because the spine itself really holds it in, so it isn't going to be needed. Okay, so now we went red, yellow, and now we're going to take some red dubbing. And we're going to make a dubbin loop, a dubbin noodle. And we're going to start at the front of the eye and work our way back. And again, just add a little bit at a time. And you want to go back to the edge of that connector piece, your spine. But you want to not crowd it to the point where you won't be able to have that wiggle, because you want to have that wiggle. But you want it to cover up, so you'll have to measure that with your eye just to put the proper amount on. Okay, so now we're going to leave our thread. And notice I went through there and you don't see the thread because it blends in there really well. So we're going to go in the middle of our spine. We're going to take a good clump of red dubbin and we're going to place it right on the center. And then you are just going to wrap really tight and go over it like 5-6 times. And make sure it's tight. And then you're going to pull out any excess dubbin like so. Alright, then you can take your dubbin brush and just push it back. And I want to really get out any of the furs, or any of the dubbin. So what I want to do, I'm going to take, I have a dog brush, and I'm going to brush it back. And this is going to really make those fibers blend in together. And it's going to take out any of the loose hairs of the fur. Alright, and then you can just keep that and use it as dubbin for another blend. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So now take your thread, wrap it to the eye and from underneath, and then four or 5 lock hitches, and voila, secure. That isn't going anywhere. Okay, next thing we're going to do is take our next spine. You're going to need your hemostats. Just put it in the eye, open it up a little bit, slide it in. Then you can take this one out and see it's already starting to have that wiggle to it. Like so. Now the same step, we're going to attach the thread. Wrap, 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 wrap. It's going to close your thread's going to close the gap in your spine. Trim off the excess. Wrap, 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 wrap. Okay, now we're going to go yellow again. So we're going to make another dubbin noodle. I'm going to start below the eye, wrapping down. With this neon yellow fur or wool dubbin, it should attract fish with that red contrast. Those fish love those contrasting colors. Now, what we want to do is we want to get some Crystal Flash. One strand of Crystal Flash. And we're going to fold it over, cut it, put the ends together, like so. Cut it again. Alright, and we're going to tie it in. like so. And just leave it sticking out past the eye. And now we're going to take a clump of our wool. You want your thread to be right in the middle of your spine. You're going to tie it down. Do a few good wraps. Pull out anything that sticks out. And if you feel you don't have enough, you can always put some more in. By the same thing, you can just put it in the middle and wrap it over. I feel that there's enough, so I'm going to fold over my Crystal Flash, tie it down about 1 millimeter from the front, and then give it a trim. Now I'm going to make another dubbing noodle, and I'm just going to finish off this head of the fly. It just helps to hold that Crystal Flash in place, and it just makes it look more polished. Then I'm just going to tie off the front. Again, you can whip finish or half hitches. I do about 5. Make sure it's secure. Okay, so now you got this really wiggly tail. So we're going to attach it onto our hook by making another attachment spine. So we will take our ornament wire, we will put it in our looping tool, push it, roll it, and as you can see, it makes a nice loop. We'll take our pliers and we will cut it. I'll just put that off to the side. And now we are going to take our size 4 egg hook and put it in the vise. And we are going to take our clear nylon thread and we are going to attach it. Like so. And you want to be pretty liberal with this because you want to have a really good base for that wire to attach to. So you're going to go back 4 or 5 times from the bend of the hook to the eye of the hook. Then you're going to take that little shank that we made. Try not to hook your tail into your pants. And you're going to insert it through the front eye of the spine, and you'll see it lines up on your hook, so you want to line it up onto your hook like so. And then you're going to start tying it down, and you want this to be really secure. So you are going to go very liberally with your thread. Back and forth, up and down, back from the front to the back. And if you hook into any bass, a smallmouth or largemouth or even a small muskie or a small pike, any of those fish, you're going to want this to be securely in there so that it doesn't come out. So now that it's in there, we're going to take our crazy glue, and you want that out of your way. I usually have a neopladium magnet there, but I dropped it somewhere and I couldn't find it, so I just went without it. So again, as you can see, from the time we used our crazy glue on the tail till now, it has seized over. So you just have to take off that little dry bit. Alright, and you're going to put some crazy glue in there. And for good measure, give it a couple more wraps. And now that's going to dry up. Okay. So we have our tail attached. So now here's the fun bit. You need to make a popper tube. This is the foam popper head. I have already made one, but I did not show you guys how to do that. So I am going to show you now how to do that. When you're making a popper tube, you need to measure the width of the hook, and then you need to have a piece of foam. You will cut your 1mm foam into a strip like so. You're going to need a a shish kebab skewer, and you're going to, that's my wife again. She's visiting her father today for Father's Day. So you're going to wrap your foam around the shish kebab skewer like so. You're going to go like twice around it. You're going to take your crazy glue and you're going to make a strip, and then you're going to push it into the strip. And then you're just going to hold it and while we wait, I'll just put my crystal flash off to the side. Alright, and now it should be dry. So if you take it off, you will have a dry tube. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to cut smoothly along the edge so that it will form a smooth line. Now, if you do that and you find that it didn't glue down all the way, take your crazy glue and just apply it, and you can push it down along the edge. She really loves me, folks. She really loves me. Alright, so this time it's stuck. So now you have your foam tube like this. Alright, so that is going to be our popper head. Alright, so what you're going to need is a piece of yellow foam to match the popper head, and you're going to put it on to your fly body on your hook, and you're going to bend it over, and you're going to go along your hook until you get to the eye. Then you're going to tie it pretty tight, and then you're going to fold it back over facing to the rear of the hook, you're going to fold it down, and then you're going to trim it flush at the end, like so. Now take your thread and put it down to the end just before the bend of your hook. And you're going to take your popper head and you're going to measure it again just to make sure. And this one is a little long. So I'm going to trim off a little bit because you want it to be, the eye to be free there and the eye to be free there. So you want it to be free at the tail and the eye. Then you're going to slide it over. You're going to line it up so the line part is on the bottom. There'll be like a, if you see this little line there, you want that flush with the hook. And then you're going to take your thread, you're going to go 2 millimeters down, and you're going to tie that in. And you're going to be, you have to go pretty tight without snapping your thread. And this is where I and many others will snap their thread on this fly, because you have to be pretty tight with it. All right. And you're also don't want to hit that hook tip too often if you can avoid it, because it will weaken your thread, and because you're putting it under a lot of tension. All right, and at this point I take my, I do a couple of half hitches with my fingers, and the good thing about a finger half hitch is you can adjust anywhere where you want it to be. So you can just go in with your 2 fingers and adjust. And this is going to tie it down, and should it unravel, all your work is not done, undone. Okay, so we went red, yellow, and guess what? Red is the color. And if you want, just for extra measure, you can add a little crazy glue at this point onto that area, and that will just give it some extra security and prevent it from unraveling. Okay, so we're going to make a red dubbin noodle with our red wool. And we're just going to put it on like so. All right, and that's just going to get caught in the glue. That's going to tighten it all up, and it's just going to secure things up. Now we're just going to take a clump and we're going to go over the top right at the base of that foam popper head. We're going to put it in, and then you're just going to take out anything that sticks out. Like so. And we'll just spread it out a little bit. And then you can just push it back, and then you can just put your thread in and tie it down. And as you see, it forms a really sort of nice body that melds into the rest. All right. If you don't have enough, you can always take a little bit and just tie it into the crack a little bit and fill the cracks in that way, and then it will bushy itself out. Okay, at this point, before we tie anything off, we'll take our dog brush and we'll just brush through the whole kit and caboodle. That will take any loose fibers out, and then we will, in between the wool and the foam, you will just do a few 1/2 inches with the fingers. And then you can trim it off. And then, as you see, you got a really wiggly toppy popper, changer popper. Reverse your hook and your vise. Now you can get your hands on everything, and you can just comb that out. Give that a good combing with the dog brush. If you don't have a dog brush, that's okay. You can use your dubbing brush. Just go through it, brush it with the dubbing brush. You got some sparkle in there, which is nice. You got your wiggle in there, which is nice. Okay. So now, the next thing you want to do is you want to take your 2 Google eyes. So I've got these little Google eyes, and you want to add a dab of crazy glue. Two of them, and you want to center them on your popper like so. So you're going to do one on this side, then you're going to turn it over. Add the one on the other side. Alright. So now your little popper changer has eyes. And you can get creative and you can do all kinds of things, different patternings. I like to brighten up this, or the foam that I had was not quite bright enough for me. It just happened to be what I had handy. I didn't have any school bus yellow handy. I really like school bus yellow, but this is what I had. So I take a Sharpie marker and I just go around everything, go around the eyes, everything. And I just make sure it's all nice and yellow. As you can see, that just kind of brightened it up a little. That's exactly what I like to do. And I like to take some black nail polish, and I like to make the front mouth of it black. So I just go carefully inside the front, and I make it black. And that just gives some contrast to the lip, and if any gets on the edge, which I did pretty good, I think, don't worry, because it just adds speckled contrast to it, so it seems all right. Okay, and the last step for me is to take some clear nail polish, doesn't matter which kind. In this case it's Sinful Colors, but it could be Sally Hansen's or whatever you have lying about. And I just like to go over, and it'll make that yellow pop just a little more, give it a bit of a shine, and it'll just seal the yellow in so that when it's in the water it won't fade as quickly. Not that that'll matter to the fish, honestly. The fish are not going to care about that. Normally I wipe off my brush in between dips so that any colors of marker do not get into the clear nail polish, but because I'm at the end of the line with that bottle, it is not necessary. And that is it, folks. That is the yellow game changer, the popper changer. I hope you enjoyed that. Tie it up. Let me know in the comments if you fish with it, if you tied it, if you enjoyed it. Let me know how the video was, if I did the steps good. Yeah, let me know if you're doing well. Feel free to join the Superflies for Super Glides group. We're on Facebook, Ontario Fly Fishing and Fly Tying Group. I'm, of course, the leader of that group, so feel free to join me on Facebook. And if you saw this from Facebook, thank you for joining. And fish on, Canada. Keep your fly on the water and tight lines. All right.